Welcome everyone, this is DerekJ Speaks, and today we are talking about AEW Collision, the debut episode of AEW's brand new 2-hour block of original programming live on Saturday nights going forward on TNT. This debut episode coming on June 17th, 2023, live from the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, which played host to the homecoming, the second coming, if you will, of CM Punk. We've heard the rumors, we've seen the official words, and we knew after all of the drama, all the craziness that happened last year at All Out, or Brawl Out as some people put it, we knew that there was a very likely chance that eventually CM Punk would find his way back onto AEW television because Tony Khan highly values him as a top star in his company. And then along the way, this whole thing with Warner offering Tony Khan and AEW more television and Collision coming up, and this idea of basically splitting the roster, aka separating CM Punk from the Elite crew, and we're led here. We have this brand new show. It's clearly being built around CM Punk, and that's how this show was. The show started and ended. It was bookended by CM Punk, and it had some pretty fun stuff there in the middle. But the show opened up with the introductions. We have Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness on commentary. We have Dasha Fuentes doing the ring announcing. A nice big feel. We had Saturday Nights Are for Fighting, I think the song is, from Elton John as the theme song. So kick things off in a good way, and we kick things off with the only way this Chicago crowd wanted to, which was CM Punk coming out to cut a promo. Punk came out with some boots laced up around his neck and this mysterious red bag, which he would make clear, or at least alluded to what was in it a little bit later on in the promo. But a big theme of this promo from CM Punk is, tell me when I'm telling any lies. So we had Scorched Earth CM Punk, not necessarily quite as scorched earth as his words and comments in the post All Out media scrum last year, which kicked all of this off in the first place. But within character of CM Punk, he was going pretty scorched earth without directing his venom at very specific targets, at least very directly. A lot of subtlety and not so subtle digs at certain individuals throughout this promo. But a big thing was him just thanking the crowd, him thanking his fans for understanding that he is the genuine article. He is authentically himself. He is who he says he is. He is who he presents himself as. He is in a position where his mere presence can make people feel uncomfortable, and he essentially doesn't care. One of the first things he said when he started out the promo is he's tired of being nice. And we have not really seen a nice version of CM Punk in a very long time now, so I don't really necessarily know what he's talking about there, but that was basically the gist of this promo. And, you know, the crowd, they were eating out of the palm of this guy's hands. They were cheering and hanging on to his every word. Of course, they started a fuck the elite chant, but hey, we've had certain crowds that chant fuck CM Punk, which will be very interesting to see over these next couple of weeks, but I'll get more into that a little bit later on in this review. But I'm not going to go through every single thing that CM Punk said here. He said some pretty big things here. One of, or at least some of the big talking points coming out of this promo were some of his not so subtle digs, of course, at the Elite and specific members of the Elite. He mentioned how there are some people out there who feel entitled or feel that they are owed an apology from CM Punk, and his response to that was that he is sorry that the only ones softer than you are the wrestlers that you like. So, pretty pretty scathing, biting line there. Of course, again, that the crowd really got into. But the big money line, pun intended, of this promo was him talking about how one of his nicknames is One Bill Phil. Because, and I quote basically here, he is a genuine Bill in a business full of counterfeit bucks. And of course, that got, I don't know if it got the biggest reaction of this promo. I feel like it did. I feel like that got the biggest reaction out of this entire promo. And of course, it started another Fuck the Elite chant, but it also was mixed in with CM Punk chants. So that was one of the big talking points here. But he ended the promo referencing the boots and the bag. He mentioned the bag and he said what is in the bag. He didn't outright say what it is, but he was kind of alluding to what is in there. He was mentioning how what's in this red bag of his is something that he won. He earned it. He didn't win it, or he didn't get it because he was in one of the greatest dog collar matches of all time. He got this because he won the greatest dog collar match of all time. And this is something that he was never pinned for to lose. He never submitted to lose it. And until someone pins his shoulders to the mat or taps him out, he is still the owner of this item. Of course, referencing the fact that in this bag, which he never pulled out of the bag, but he was referencing the fact that inside that bag is his version of the AEW World Championship. Again, we never saw it. He never outright said this is what's in it, but all of his wording here and the way the bag was shaped, all signs pointed to that's what is in there. And he talked about his boots. He had the boots around his neck, and he said that there's a lot of people out there who would love to see him place these boots down in the middle of the ring and walk off into the sunset. But until there is anyone in the back, in that backstage area, anyone else in this company who can lace up his boots and fill his shoes, these shoes will never leave his feet. And that was pretty much it. And he repeated the whole, tell me when I'm telling you any lies, and it was a mic drop. So that was the basic gist of the promo. If you are interested, by all means, please seek it out yourself. I will say it was a damn good promo. You know, intense, bitter, pissed off CM Punk as a character on TV can be a very interesting character. Of course, I don't doubt for a second this is tapping into real emotions here, but as for his on-screen persona, it works. So, and of course the whole counterfeit Bucks stuff, and counterfeit Bucks was trending on Twitter, and the Young Bucks, who are always quick to post quippy things in their Twitter bios, they put something in their bio, you know, referencing how if this was 2018, counterfeit Bucks would have quickly been on a t-shirt and they would have sold out on Pro Wrestling Tees. So that was cute. That was a cute little response. We'll see if they have anything a little grittier on TV if they are on Dynamite this upcoming week. But even still, I thought that this was a really strong promo from CM Punk here. And, you know, with this show being built around him being the cornerstone of this show, and the fact that, yes, he does have a point in that he did not get pinned to lose the AEW World Championship. And you have to assume that in that bag holds his version of the championship. I even think when he dropped the mic, he even mentioned Max's name to the camera. So it looks like the direction we are heading in is MJF versus CM Punk for the AEW World Championship at some point. Right now, MJF is tied up with a feud with Adam Cole. Of course, they had that great match on Dynamite this past week. At Forbidden Door, in a couple of weeks, MJF will be defending the championship against Tanahashi. And now we basically have CM Punk coming back out claiming to be the real world champion. So it feels good for Max, I guess, MJF to be involved in all these different stories. That's pretty cool. When could we see MJF versus CM Punk? I feel like that'll probably end up being the match at All In at Wembley Stadium, or if they do run All Out the week after on Labor Day weekend and they're in Chicago again, obviously that would be the most ideal time to do that match. I personally have no desire in seeing CM Punk win the AEW World Championship again. He held it twice. He got injured both times. He did nothing for the belt. If reports are to be correct, he didn't even want to be the champion in the first place. So, the way I see it, I have zero interest in seeing him hold that championship again. But if we get a program with him and MJF for the championship, and we can get MJF appearing on these shows, or maybe we'll get Punk on episodes of Dynamite where they are sans the Elite that week, we could get some really good stuff between these two. Punk claiming to be the uncrowned champion, and of course MJF having a chip on his shoulder, and we could eventually get that match at a big show later this year. But the outcome of that match needs to be CM Punk losing and putting over MJF. That was supposed to have been the outcome of their match at Full Gear last November before CM Punk got hurt and pissed off the whole world in his comments. So that was supposed to be the spot for CM Punk. Obviously, plans changed. But now it's time for them to circle back to that and right that wrong. If you want to go forward with CM Punk and MJF, by all means, do it. It was one of the best feuds of the entire year last year. I have no issue with them doing that match, so long as they make the right decision and not put the championship back on CM Punk, but instead use Punk to put over MJF. That should have been the goal from the moment that feud started, and now we can circle back to it, and we can finally put closure to this feud, and it can end with MJF going over on CM Punk. Speaking of CM Punk, hell, that's what this whole video basically is about. He was in the main event. He teamed up with the AEW Tag Team Champions, FTR, to take on the team of Bullet Club Gold, that being Jay White and Juice Robinson, and the Ring of Honor World Television Champion, Samoa Joe. This was a fun main event. This was a fun way to close out the show. The crowd was super hot for it. Of course, they were really into CM Punk, and they were damn sure into the face-off between CM Punk and Samoa Joe. Goes without saying, there's a lot of history, a long history between the two of them. So they were really into that, and every time they were squaring up in there, it just felt like old times. I was not a huge Ring of Honor fan during their heyday, during their big run with each other, but I knew of it, and since then I've seen most of their matches. It's just been a very long time since I've seen those matches, but CM Punk has never defeated Samoa Joe. Technically, in this match, this was the very first time CM Punk has ever technically defeated Samoa Joe in a match, even though CM Punk never pinned Samoa Joe's shoulders to the match. This match ended with Juice Robinson being the one to get hit with the big rig from FTR and get transitioned into the GTS from CM Punk to get the win and send the crowd home happy. Again, really fun match, wild, chaotic brawl, just action all over the place. The crowd was into it. Good stuff here. So, again, the show was bookended by CM Punk and his presence. He is the star of this show. And here in Chicago, in the United Center, a packed house there, he got a huge reaction. What's the reaction going to be next week? And the week after that, and so on and so forth, in these different cities and towns, in Canada, in other cities and states in the United States. What's the reaction going to be for CM Punk? A lot of the times that we've been hearing about CM Punk, and they've been showing his image and saying his name on TV on Dynamite leading up to this night, sometimes it's been met with very tepid reactions. Sometimes it's been met with very strongly mixed reactions. And now CM Punk, he's carrying this weight to him, with, as evidenced by that promo earlier. We'll see how much that rubs people the right or wrong way. We'll see how that impacts his reactions. We'll see if this eventually leads to a heel turn for CM Punk. I think it's an inevitability, but we'll see. As for everything else on this show, because there were other things that did happen on this show, we had a TNT Championship match between Wardlow and Luchasaurus that ended with the referee being distracted, him having his back turned, and Wardlow was up on the top rope. He got smashed in the head with a camera by Christian Cage, who was outside the ring, and it ended with Luchasaurus pinning Wardlow and winning the TNT Championship. So Luchasaurus is the brand new TNT champion, and of course, like the slimy little dick heel he is, Christian Cage was the one celebrating and holding up the championship belt as if he actually did something. Poor Wardlow, the dude just gets no respect, and it's like I can't even really muster up enough energy to care about him losing the championship here. Luchasaurus as the champion, will it do much more for the title than Wardlow did? I don't know. The fact that Christian is with him as his mouthpiece and is parading around as if he's the actual champion, I guess that could be a fun gimmick. So we'll see how that plays out. We had some big returns on this show. Andrade El Idolo returned on this show. He took on Buddy Matthews, a member of the House of Black. They had a fantastic match. Outside of the main event, this match was incredible. It was very physical. It was very tough, very brutal, but it was just great action, and the fans were really into it. And a really cool finish. When Andrade had Buddy Matthews in the figure 4, he transitioned it into the figure 8. So, shout out to his wife there. After the match, he was trying to offer a handshake to Buddy Matthews, but then one of AEW's favorite gimmicks kicked in, the lights went out, and they came back on. Right behind Andrade in the ring were Brody King and Malachi Black. Brody laid out Andrade with a wicked clothesline, and Malachi was leaning down, basically talking shit to Andrade. So hopefully this is leading to a singles match between Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo, which I would love. I think that would be an excellent match. As great as the match with Andrade and Buddy Matthews was on this show, I can only imagine how great of a match Malachi and Andrade could be. We also had the return of Miro. Miro returning for the very first time. All these months of these rumors of Miro just not liking the creative for him and him just being at home, sitting around doing nothing. He finally returns to television. He has a squash match, not necessarily a complete squash match, over Tony Nese. Tony Nese got a little bit of offense in, but ultimately Miro was in complete dominance, and he tapped out Tony Nese to the game over camel clutch submission. And Miro was super over in front of this crowd, as was Andrade. Andrade also got a pretty good, solid reaction from the crowd too. We had a women's tag team action on this show. The team of Toni Storm, the AEW Women's World Champion, and Ruby Soho, representing the Runaways, I guess is their name, taking on Willow Nightingale, the New Japan Strong Women's Champion, and hometown girl herself, Sky Blue. This turned into a really fun match too. The crowd was really into it. I mean, they love Willow, and Sky Blue is a hometown favorite, so they were really into this match, and the babyfaces got the win. Sky Blue was able to get a pinfall victory over Ruby Soho in her hometown, so good moment there. And then as for some of the other things that happened on this show, there was a segment with the Acclaimed. They didn't really say much. It was nothing really important. We learned of the first 2 names official for this year's Owen Hart Cup tournament, that being Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks. I think both men are viable contenders to win the entire thing. So it's cool that they're both going to be in it. And we had a vignette for Scorpio Sky, who will be returning to TV at some point. And then we had a bunch of match announcements for Dynamite in the coming up next week. So that really covered majority of this show. As the first episode of this Collision show, I thought AEW did a great job. I thought this was a very good show. I thought the CM Punk promo that opened the show, I'm sure it'll be very polarizing, as CM Punk is a very polarizing figure. So, it goes hand in hand. But I thought as a promo for his character on TV, it was very good. Obviously, it was tapping into real life emotions, but I thought it was really good. The main event was fun as a one-off. Hopefully it can branch out. There's options for CM Punk as far as his first big feud on this show. It could be with Samoa Joe. It could be with Jay White. We'll see what direction they go with that in. Of course, the tease earlier in the night with Malachi Black and Andrade, that could be very interesting. Not a whole lot on this show that really set things up for these are going to be the feuds going forward. No, it was more so like an introduction or a reintroduction in many cases So these are the key players. These are the top faces and top names who this show will be built around. Of course, CM Punk being the crown jewel of all of them, him being the big main attraction. We'll see how much that impacts things. We'll see how much that impacts ratings. We'll see how much that impacts ticket sales for the shows coming up. I know not everyone cares about that kind of stuff. They just want to tune into these shows and watch the wrestling for 2 hours and get involved and get invested in the stories. They could give a shit less about what the ratings are, what the figures are, and what the ticket sales and stuff are. I know that, but there's also people who do care about that. They're wrestling nerds. They care about that. So just putting and shining some light on that. It does matter to some people. It matters not much to other people, but it is what it is. And again, with CM Punk as the main attraction right here on this show in Chicago, as expected, huge monster reaction, not very many boos, and he was presented as a hero, a star to these people. But we'll see how that translates going forward. But that's it for me. I can't say this is going to be a regular thing, me reviewing Collision or even watching Collision every single week. It's on Saturday nights. I can't commit to watching this show every single Saturday night going forward. But as for the first episode tonight, I thought it was a home run from AEW. We'll see just how important this show is positioned. We'll see if it falls down the same rabbit hole that Rampage did, where it just falls into obscurity, or if they will keep it looking like a significant alternative or on par with Dynamite. There was a certain feel to this show where it did feel important. It did feel like a big deal. It was the first show after all. Of course, it's going to have that feel. We'll just see if that can carry on and carry over these next couple of weeks. So we shall see. I'll be keeping tabs on Collision, and if there's anything big important that I feel is justified to talk about, then I'll be right back here on this channel talking about Collision. And of course, if you want to hear that and you like what you see and you like what you hear, hit that like button, subscribe button, and follow me on Twitter at DerekJ Speaks, where I will be covering all kinds of wrestling content, AEW, WWE, and everything else in between every single week. So until next time, take care.